Little Shop of Horrors is such an incredible show. I'm absolutely in love with it. And so I felt blessed to be able to grab a ticket to actually one of the first performances on Broadway this year featuring Jeremy Jordan. I think it was his second night, and I asked if they were doing any kind of like technically previews with it, but this was just a regular performance. So I was getting a review today, and we're going to talk about what I absolutely loved and what I didn't think was so good. So first of all, Jeremy Jordan, man, this guy, he can do anything. How is it possible that he can play a newsie, and then he can play Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde, and then he turns up and he starts singing Shik's a Goddess, and then you turn around the corner and he's playing Seymour? Like, god damn, this man has so much talent, and it was such a pleasure getting to see him on stage. And the theater that it's in, gonna double check this, pretty sure it's the Westside Theatre, is a really cool space because it's small. Like, we're talking no mezzanine, it's intimate, you feel close to the cast even when you're sitting towards the back. And it's also not a production with a huge number of people in it. I mean, that's the nature of Little Shop, right? And so it means that you just really feel close and connected to Jeremy, obviously playing Seymour, but then also to Joy Woods playing Audrey, and portraying Audrey in such an awesome way. I think that Audrey as a character is someone that is very easy to just base on old performances of the character. But Joy totally made it her own and made a bunch of decisions that I thought were really brilliant. And I really enjoyed what she did. And I also had the understudy Urchin on. So it wasn't Bryce Pinkham that I saw Jeff Sears as Urchin instead. I thought he did great, but more on that later. But I also really want to give some love and praise to, I hope I say your name right, Khadija Sanko. It might be Khadija Sanko. She plays Chiffon, and all three of the like Urchin girls, right, the Renettes, all three of them were really fantastic throughout. They brought so much young kind of like sass to the role, like looking across the stage and there's other stuff going on and they're just sort of there like just giving looks to the characters. Like I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was so great, and I thought that she especially did a really brilliant job of bringing that kind of performance to life in a big way. But all three of them were absolutely fantastic. And overall, as a show that you can get tickets for from like $59, I'm pretty sure, I would so wholeheartedly recommend it. I mean, Little Shop of Horrors, the music in the show is just so rousing and great. It's so satisfying to listen to. It's no surprise because it's Alan Menken, and that sort of speaks for itself, I think. But being able to see Jeremy Jordan and Joy Woods really sort of take on those roles with that music as the kind of clothing that they're putting on and displaying for you all is really fantastic. Now, there were one or two things that I didn't like so much. And these were small, don't get me wrong. I had a fantastic time. I absolutely loved the show. But when the dentist scene was happening, something that took me out of it just a little teeny bit was that there's meant to be this mask, right, that Urchin is wearing and that he essentially suffocates inside. But the problem was, I don't know if this is just because of the mask design or if this was just something that only happened on the night that I saw it, but Jeff Sears had the mask on his head and he's kind of dying and suffocating and getting on the floor and all that stuff. But the mask basically kept coming off. And so all of the illusion of him dying inside the mask was kind of broken by the fact that he was having to hold it onto himself, and he was trying his absolute hardest to make it seem like his character was trying to remove the mask and couldn't. But because of whatever was happening, it was like slipping on his head or slipping back or something. It was just impossible not to see that the mask wasn't actually on him. And like, I get it, there's suspension of disbelief and all that sort of thing, but for such a crucial moment of the show, I don't really understand why they couldn't have a more kind of fixed mask on the character's head at that time. Like, it's not like he's actually going to suffocate if he's wearing a mask that has like an air vent that the kind of audience thinks is blocked, but is actually just open. Like if it's got like a little scuba pipe coming out of it or something, right? But instead you've got this whole like gap thing going on, and so it just kept sliding off. I don't know, it was weird. And then the only other thing that I think was not disappointing necessarily, but certainly wasn't really what I was expecting, is that the plant itself wasn't quite as emotive as I thought it maybe was going to be. I've seen certain slime tutorials on YouTube or TikTok or whatever of this production, or similar productions just of Little Shop, and sometimes the things that they do with the plant to give it character and have its arms kind of flailing around and pointing in different directions and stuff like that is often just unbelievable. Like they're doing wizardry on stage in making the plant come to life. And also, there's a whole bunch of illusions that I've also seen in productions similar to the sort of thing that you might have seen in like Mary Poppins here in the West End last year, or you might see in Cursed Child, or all sorts of productions, right? Groundhog Day is doing it right now. There's a whole bunch of stuff where they like pull focus in one direction and then they do a switcheroo in another place and you're like, oh my God, how did they get there that fast? Or there's like a trapdoor or a mirror or whatever, right? All those sorts of stage tricks and stage illusions. And I was a little surprised there weren't just a handful more of those in the show, because you're trying to bring the plant to life, right? And the plant looking around is one thing, and that's good. And the plant moving its mouth is good. But I was hoping for just a teeny tiny bit, like 5% more, and I would have been satisfied. Other than that, though, the theater is absolutely lovely. The staff there were really nice. I bought a bunch of merch. Like, I got this cute little pin that I thought was great. I got this Mushnik's Flower Shop tote bag, which I adore, but was so expensive. Jesus Christ. And I had a wonderful time. And I would recommend it to anyone. Go see the show. Take a bunch of pictures of all of the little plants that they've got in the lobby, in the waiting area, that look like various versions of Audrey 2. And make the most of the fact that Jeremy Jordan is only in the show until September 17th. It's so worth it. You're going to have an amazing time. For me, it's a 5 stars.